Hello and welcome to episode 156 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wall 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Please subscribe.
Dan Bayliss is here.
Hello, Wall Sands.
You had a shave. You look like Mel off Bake Off back in the day. Remember that?
Do you know what's really bad? I just look like a thin version of Jack with a wonky nose now.
That's very true, actually. Not far off. We're very consistent with our appearances. Dave Azzopardi is here from Talking Wolves. Dave?
Hello, guys. Looking forward to it.
Give us your socials because you need the push.
At Talking Walls, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and Instagram, everywhere.
And like we asked last time, if you can push our socials on your channel, that'd be great. Right, okay. Well, we said we would do a podcast when Wolves got a new manager. Wolves have a new manager, Harry. Bruno Lage has made his way all the way from Portugal. It's a pretty familiar route, isn't it, from Portugal to Wolves? It was one of those where I think lots of people were expecting it for a very long time. It eventually happened. Maybe a little bit underwhelming when you got people on Twitter taking a picture of him arriving at Molineux from a bus stop. But there you go. That's how we find out about things, isn't it, in 2021?
Yeah, and well, on our last podcast, he was mentioned, wasn't he, as one of the favourites, and we were all pretty critical of it. I'm still a bit underwhelmed, but I'll give credit to Dave, actually. I've watched some of his videos and Talking Wolves, and that made me feel a bit better, I'll be honest, when I've heard more about him. We've got to get behind him, haven't we? It's still quite split, as was the Nuno in, Nuno out debate. This is kind of split still. I think a lot of people are going to get on board, though, and there is a sense of excitement, isn't there, because of his attacking football, and we just got to hope he's backed and we get the transfers right. It's good to see him here nice and early, so he's got a really good chance of sorting it all out, ready for the next season.
Bayliss, I think you said something along the lines of, as long as it's not boring, I don't care.
Essentially. Do you know what turned it for me is that we obviously didn't know anything about him. I was doing some Twitter looking, and some guy sent a post somewhere saying he's the best manager we ever had in sort of broken English, really good football.
Was it Matt Cooper?
I don't think so. It was some bloke from Portugal who was a Benfica fan, sort of saying he plays great football. It's the best we've seen. He just went on a bad run and they sacked him. I'm happy to pay to see goals. We've watched Dross in both ends for a little bit. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, we're not very good at the back, so there's no point playing to that strength, is there? We might as well try and score a few.
Dave, like Harry mentioned there, really good video regarding his arrival, and I'll just hand it over to you, really, because obviously you were part of that interview and broke the news almost.
Yeah, well, I didn't know a lot about him. Obviously, heard the name before because he was linked even last year. When there were rumours about Nuno moving on, and I think he's probably been the number one target since day one. I know they were talking about doing interviews and all sorts, but the truth in that, I don't know if there is any truth really. So, it was a guy called Aaron from Proximidade Janada, something like that, Portuguese page. But yeah, he was a Porto fan, but obviously had much better knowledge on Lage than I did. And just spoke about his time really, saying like he was a really good guy behind the scenes. Played a 4-4-2 at Benfica, very, very attacking. I mean, you guys have seen all the stats. The amount of goals that they scored during that time was phenomenal. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he translates that from Portuguese football to English football, because obviously he was at Benfica, arguably at the time the strongest team in Portugal, coming to Wolves that are not the weakest, but definitely not the strongest team in the league either. Can he translate that type of tactic and system to English football? And, he's had about a year and a half out the game. If he's changed his mind, changed his philosophy in that time, I don't know. But, yeah, like Harry, I was a little bit sceptical. Wasn't my first choice. But at the same time, I think every manager out there at present was a little bit underwhelming, really. The free agents out there, all the managers that we were linked with, I don't think everybody was going to be 100% happy with whoever we went with. But, yeah, we've got to back him. Hopefully Fosun and the board can back him in the summer and we build a strong team for next season.
Who was your first choice, just for reference?
Who did I say? I wouldn't have minded Fonseca, the one that Spurs are in talks with now. But that was probably about it, really. Or Gerrard, but again, I think that was a bit of a push, really.
Harry, like I say, we've got to support him now, and he's coming to the club. It's a difficult situation, isn't it? Because there's still was Nuno sacked, which I think it's becoming ever clearer that he was, and it is a tough act to follow, isn't it? And I think if we rewind to when Nuno came in, we were probably saying exactly the same thing, weren't we? And I know you're obviously a big fan of someone like Paul Lambert. And then with the devastating video, obviously Zenga came in, it didn't work. So, it's going to be about cheering him on, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the worry for me. Hopefully it's not another Zenga, but I think it's going to be, in terms of transfers and that, it's going to be a lot the same, isn't it? I don't know, Dave probably could tell us more, but I feel like he's just going to take whatever he's given in terms of transfers, and it'd probably be Mendes clients again. And I think that's what Jeff Shee likes. I think he knew he was getting a man in who would be willing just to take the players that they get in, mainly through George Mendes. Hopefully they do go in the domestic market, but it looks unlikely. And yeah, it's a risk. I think anybody was a risk. And we said, didn't we, anybody who got the job, it would have been a really, really tough task to turn this team around. And how many are going to be missing Nuno? How many are going to be happy to stay? We don't know. There's so much to do in the summer. And I just hope for his sake, the transfers are correct. And then hopefully his tactics are good, because let's be honest, at Benfica, it's probably a bit easier to attack in that league than it is in the Premier League with a team like Wolves. So let's just hope the attacking football works. And I've said before, I hope he's not sacked by Christmas and it's not a disaster.
Bayliss, Harry mentioned risk there. Is it a risky appointment because of the way that Nuno left, do you think, more than getting what we would consider to be the right manager in?
No, I think the biggest risk is how he's backed and supported by the club, as in the owners. Whatever happened this summer, whoever was in charge needed to freshen up that team a bit and increase the size of it. So it doesn't matter whether it was Nuno or whoever it happens to be. That's the risk. Anyone that's got the qualifications to manage a team can do it, but to do it well and successfully, you've got to have the skill. Plus, you've got to have some money to be successful. It's impossible to fight and be near the top end of the Premier League without a lot of cash.
Dave, you mentioned 4-4-2 when you last spoke, and obviously Nuno had tried 4-4-2, ended up coming away from it. Arguably, the players are there to be able to play a 4-4-2, because the transition was being started to be made, wasn't it? And the injuries obviously didn't help, and not adapting to the system. Not much of a pre-season, couple of days, and a long season before that didn't help. Do you think players playing in the Euros, they're probably going to have a good time. There's going to be a lot of excitement around it. Do you think having a longer period of time, a longer pre-season is going to help that transition to a 4-4-2?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. You think the last two seasons for Nuno, I think the first season when we were in the Europa League, we didn't have any pre-season friendlies. We just used the qualification games in the Europa League as those warm-ups. And then last season, it was non-existent. You had the stupid international break a week before the season. So I think our team, as a full squad, we had less than a week together. So it was... I think, obviously I do feel for Nuno like that, and Lage has got a good chance now in a proper pre-season. Obviously he'll have a few players come back a little bit late, but he's got a big chance now to put his stamp on things. I'm hoping, I think he said in one of his interviews that he wants to continue Nuno's culture. Hopefully he doesn't mean by system or tactics, but because I think as successful as Nuno was at times, I think we all just want to see a fresh change, attacking football, like Bailey said, just to see us try and score goals, because we didn't do that enough at all last season. So I saw a couple of people say we haven't got the players to play a 4-4-2, but I think we have. I think if we can back him in 2 or 3 areas, I think you have. I looked at the depth of the squad at the start of this week, and I thought, it's all right. And the squad in general is strong. We just need to add depth to it. And that's what we lacked this season. We saw Jimenez injured, which, you should have seen coming for the last 3 years, because we've never had an adequate backup for him at all. No. Johnny injured, which fair enough. You had Aït-Nouri and Marcel, but Marcel was always injured. So it's just trying to get that depth. And Nuno had such a small squad, and that was his, that was his thing, and I think that came back to bite him on the backside this season, really. So I think Lage needs to learn from that. But like Harry said, I do worry he could be a little bit of a yes man. So I think.
Do you think, Dave? Do you think he'll use the youth a lot? Because I know in them questions and answers that they've been releasing.
Yeah,
they kept going on about that, didn't they? And I think you said in your video with that Aaron bloke, he brought like João Felix and that through, didn't he? So maybe they look at that and think, hopefully he brings through.
My concern with that is my concern with that is, you got the likes of Otasowie that are already at the sort of first team level, and we do have a young squad. To be fair, you've got some good young players like Morgan Gibbs-White, still Vitinha, Fabio Silva, so it's promising for them. But you look outside of that, our 23s are nowhere near strong enough to make the step up. And I suppose Benfica fans probably thought the same about Florentino Luiz was the guy that he brought up as well. But you look, maybe Corbiano could come in for spells. But other than that, I remember everyone wanting Benny Ashley Seal in the first team because he scored a few goals at 23s, and now he's playing League 2, League 1 football. And he played that FA Cup game, didn't he? He started against Manchester United, and he would come off at half time. So,
he played like a seal that day.
Yeah. I don't think our 23s are strong enough for him to be able to do that on a regular basis. But they've got to back him. I said we could give Guardiola the job this summer, but he won't do anything with that team because if he's not backed, you've got to back the new manager. If that means we have to sell a player, like obviously there's been a big bit of uproar about Neves. If he goes, sound. But as long as we just got to replace him, right? If the club replaces him properly, there's no complaints whatsoever.
The big one for me is if he does play for, are we going to see Cody, man? Like, he's just gone to the Euros, England international. Imagine if he's like, don't fancy you in a 4, mate. You're not good enough for us. Imagine. Like, it'd be so interesting to see that.
Yeah. Bayliss, how many games on a poor run would it take before him to be compared to or called the Peri Dean Saunders? Because he does look, he's a spitting image, isn't he? And it's just a meme waiting to happen.
He does, unfortunately for him, look a little bit like Dean Saunders. 10. If we don't win in the first 10 in the league, I reckon it'll start to get a bit.
That'll be less than that. It'll probably be first game. The Albion fans.
Realistically, it needs to be about that. But knowing the Wolves fans as we do, if we don't win the first 3, it'll be meltdown. You know it will. If we ain't scoring and playing free flowing, attacking football, there'll be calls for him out.
1-0 away to City, and on the fan direct, talking Wolves, Michael Bibb will already be calling him the
It'd be bright red, getting him out.
You mentioned there the players leaving, and I know today there's been a little bit of the rumour mill of Patricio sort of signing a deal with Roma, but nothing in place to bring in Sarr. What are your thoughts? I'll start with Bayliss on Rui leaving.
I think he's quite a good keeper. I think he's a very good keeper. Yeah. So I would like to see him stay if possible. But it's just what happens. It's just a shame that keepers aren't really worth a lot. And he was top class. He made some world-class saves. Sadly, he didn't have a defence to help him for a lot of last year. Well, not a good
It'd be good to get money for him. Has he only got like a year left, I think? So to get like decent amount of money for him would be good, wouldn't it? But like you say, I'd love to keep him because I don't know what this bloke's like, this Sarr, but is he going to be as good as Rui? Probably not. And if we're playing attacking football, we're going to have a lot of shots on goal next year. So we need a decent keeper in there.
Dave, thoughts?
Yeah, I like Patricio. I think, again, he's had a little bit of, people moaning about his performances. But you look at some games like this season, and like Bailey said, the defence in front of him. The Leeds game, I think both Leeds games where we won 1-0 both games, and he was awesome in both of those. So I think he's won us more points than he's lost us this season. I know he's had a couple of iffy moments, but I think 12 million is good business if you're going to sell. Like Harry said, I don't know much about Jose Sarr either, to be honest. But yeah, it's just one of those positions, isn't it? I think as long as you can get an all right goalkeeper in, yeah. But Patricio's Portugal's number one, been Portugal's number one for how long now? Jose Sarr doesn't even break into that Portugal team. So it does put a couple of question marks over it, I think.
Gonna be an interesting one, isn't it? And just finally on this section, Nuno talking to Crystal Palace, Harry. Were you quite surprised about that? Because to me, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, well, initially, as soon as he left, I thought he was going to Spurs. That don't seem to be happening. Then Everton, which I thought was fair enough, and with Palace, very strange. And what's even more strange is it looked like it was going to happen, then it fell through because this is obviously all paper talk, but that he couldn't take 3 of the players from Wolves with him, apparently. And
I think that was a fake source, to be fair. Well, that
was it fake?
Did the rounds. Yeah, it did the rounds, though, that did.
Yeah, I think Jack made the point, didn't he, saying that journalists can just make up whatever they wanted now. Like
I believe anything I read as well, so it's not good for me. But no, it's strange that has fell through. It's strange that it's fell through. I'm surprised he's actually looking to get straight back into a job, because I know we said, didn't we, on the last podcast, I thought he'd want a break after not seeing his family for so long. But
why does Palace surprise you?
Because I thought he'd want to step up, and I feel like we're better than Palace. Do you know what I mean? I thought if
he can take Palace to that or
yeah,
better, or
and it also confirms like Sam
us.
said at the beginning, it confirms he was sacked too, doesn't it? Really, if he's willing to go to Palace, he hasn't mutually left us looking for a bigger club.
Palace have just spent an absolute fortune on their training ground. It's all like state of the art, brand new, big indoor school and stuff.
Yeah, should have spent on the fucking stadium.
They are, aren't they?
They are. Restricted view. Sorry.
They've got planning in for a big new glass arched thing that's supposed to look like the old Crystal Palace, and way better than what we're looking to do to Molineux with that brick monolith rubbish.
If he did go to Palace, for example, the atmosphere next year when he comes to Molineux would be so weird. I don't know how it'll be. Because obviously,
someone said to me, "Are you going to boo him? Are you going to boo him if he comes back?"
Nah,
I don't think I'll boo him. But
why would you boo the bloke that's giving you the best days?
He will.
If he got sacked, we can't boo him, can we? Like, unless he was like, "I'm leaving." You just don't know. We still don't know, do we? I wonder if we'll ever find out. It ain't mutual, is it? They just put that out.
I think they're sacked him.
There will be a massive non-disclosure agreement between both parties. That was signed the day he left.
And another thing as well, comparing it to Lage, that big thing that everyone always brings up about Nuno choosing Podence over, was it Danny Almo, I think? So I wonder if like Lage would do that. Like, say if he's got the final decision, like Nuno apparently had on players, will he just pick the Mendes clients? Because obviously he is a Mendes client, isn't he? So it's going to be the same, isn't it? Not much is going to change in transfers, which is slightly annoying for me. I'd love to have seen a big change with that, but hey ho, that's what we've got to deal with.
It seems like the Wolves head coach now is the person that picks a team and picks a way to play on the pitch, and that's it.
And then everyone else sorts it. Yeah.
Transfers. Okay. Obviously, this something that was released on the day that Nuno's departure was announced was the new kit. I don't know if have we spoken about the new kit.
No, we didn't.
We haven't spoken about it yet. I mean, just
we haven't seen the new kit though, had we? We hadn't seen it the last podcast because it got leaked, didn't it? It got leaked like a week after.
Thoughts?
I think, as everyone was saying, I like the white away one. The white away one looks decent. The home one would look good if they filled in the black sides. And the other one was a training top, was it? The black training top. I like Castro. I said I got bored of Adidas. I think some of the shirts have been bad. And the only thing I will say about the Castro one, the home one, does still look a bit. It don't look like the old gold like we used to have in the 90s. I just want them to get back to that, and they just don't seem to.
Remember, that's a picture that's been taken in a warehouse somewhere. Might not be like that.
Cameras are good these days, aren't they? I think they pick up the colours.
Perfectly honest, it's a very overpriced piece of plastic that we'll all buy.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, I mean, I'm a real big fan of the white away kits. I've loved every single one.
I'm a huge fan of just giving my money to Wolves.
Oh dear. Okay, well let's talk about the Euros, because I mean they start tomorrow, so very exciting football every day for the next 4 weeks. We might have a little bit of atmosphere inside stadiums. You never know. Harry, we sort of talked a little bit about the England squad. We haven't done a podcast since the provisional squad was sort of hammered down into the final 26. Are we taking enough right backs?
Well, one dropped out, didn't he? Trent, which was a bit of a probably good for Southgate, really, because I don't know how he'd have fitted them all in unless you play five at the back. But then, who's that new lad who come in? Was it the new defender who replaced him? Ben White, yeah. I thought Lingard deserved to be in, or Ward-Prowse, but I guess with Maguire injured, he had to bring him in, and maybe it gives Cody a better chance to start the first game, which is, it's mad to think that Cody could actually start in a major tournament, and we're unsure whether he's going to start for Wolves next year in a back four. So baffles me, but it's just mind-boggling. But yeah, I'm really excited about it.
That shows you the state of England's centre-back partnership, I think.
Definitely. You think we used to have John Terry and all that, and Carragher couldn't even get in the team, and now we're where we are. But we've got everyone going forward now, haven't we? I'm just so excited about it. I know Bailey said in WhatsApp the other day he knows they're going to let us down again, and I agree. But I just love watching the Euros. Like, even if it's just not England playing, I love watching every game.
The Euros is better than the World Cup.
Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
brilliant.
Agree with that.
But like Bailey said, they probably will let us down. But the optimism and the hope before it kicks off is always a really good feeling. Before they do.
I've got my England shirt on.
Baelish, you were seething yesterday about how angry you were about something that hadn't happened yet. I've never seen anything like it.
You just know. They even wrote a lyric about it. Like England are going to throw it away. They always do. It's the hope that kills you.
It is, but it's the lack of it that's terminal. Dave, what you think in European Championships?
It's going to be interesting. I think England, unfortunately, I think they've got such a tricky path anyway. I think if they win the group, they're going to play like Germany, Portugal, or whoever's in that sort of group of death in the next round. France, yeah. So they're going to have one of those in the next round, which is just mental. So
a tactical second's easy though. It's Sweden, Poland.
How weird is it? It's worked out just like the World Cup. We need to come second again. Let's be honest. It'd be France or Portugal if we win the group, and we'll lose to both of those. I think Portugal. I support Portugal anyway.
I think England got a fantastic chance purely because we're basically on home soil for the entire thing. You know, I think is there even
that I think the quarters would be the first one that we have to play in like Rome or something like that.
Doesn't matter though, because we really showed those Bulgarians the other night, didn't we? On home soil, bad them 1-0 with a penalty.
But to be fair,
Romania,
close next door.
I don't know. I thought there'd be a little bit more excitement around the whole thing, but I haven't really seen that build up yet. And it's obviously a little bit different because of the pandemic's taking its toll on people being able to enjoy things, because I think people are just being glad when you can invite people around your garden. So there doesn't seem to be that whole Three Lions on the radio all the time. And
it's definitely that, Sam. It's the COVID thing, and obviously, one of the main things I love about the Euros and the World Cup is seeing all the packed out. Well, but the packed out stadiums and all the fans travel into like usually one location. But this time, obviously, Wembley's going to be half empty. I think there is a few locations that will be full. I think Baku's going to be empty, isn't it? Where Wales are playing. So that for me just takes a lot away from it. But hopefully, as we get to the later stages, they're full. But Scotland have got 2 home games, haven't they? They've got 2 games in Scotland. It'll be good. And that Friday night game against Scotland, 8:00, that's going to be carnage, isn't it? The pubs are going to be mad.
How the hell is an Asian country hosting a European Championship game?
Is Baku? Is that Asia? Is it Baku? I don't know. I'm not very good at geography.
Yes, Azerbaijan.
Is that in Asia?
Yeah,
they're classed as UEFA though, aren't they?
Oh wow, that's mad.
That place not in Europe.
How good is that for Wales?
Australia were in Eurovision as well, and that didn't make sense to me.
Like, the Wales fans can't travel over, can they? To Baku, they can't travel, so that'd be gutting for them. And then they're just watching England, Scotland playing Great Britain. I don't know. We're going to get let down, aren't we? I was moaning at Bayless the other night, but the more I think about it, round of 16, we're going out.
I
think we've got one of the strongest squads in there. I'm sorry, but you know, defense is a little bit tricky, I think. But to be honest, like say, going forward from the midfield onward is absolute dynamite.
It's deja vu, though, isn't it? I feel like we have this conversation nearly every tournament, apart from the 2018 one where there was no pressure. And I know we had an easy run, but we could have easily gone out against Colombia. But I don't know. I'm quietly optimistic, but I don't like the fact we're like second or third favourites. I don't feel like that suits us.
We are every tournament, though, aren't we? We're up there every tournament.
Every manager England seemed to have is an absolute turnip, and the only good one we had was a Swede. Like,
you think he's good?
How long have you been working on that?
Sven had the best squad I've ever seen, and he literally
Sven's the best manager.
Yeah, but he failed with the best players. We got
only because Seaman got himself lobbed from 35 yards.
That wasn't.
Yeah, but the tactics we played, we had so many like great midfielders and that, and he played Scholes on the left and things like that.
No,
2004 and 2006 was disappointing.
2002 was when Seaman got lobbed. 2006, what happened with that one? Was that one when Ronaldo did the wink, wasn't it? Ronaldo got Rooney sent off.
We've just appointed such bad, and I think Southgate's bad. He's so negative in his football.
He's just boring.
He's just boring. He looks like
I was watching that ITV documentary. I think, Harry, you mentioned, didn't you? The summer football came home, and I honestly had a tear in my eye watching that because I got so emotional to it. And then they'd cut to Gareth Southgate having an interview, and I was just like, "How are you so boring? How can you be this boring?" I'm like, this thing, like everyone's getting really emotional talking about it. Terry Venables was brilliant on it. They had older footage of Gaza because he's fucked, but still good contribution. But yeah, just hearing Three Lions again and that that vibe, just get excited.
Who did we beat in our World Cup run in 2018? Panama,
Colombia,
Colombia,
Turkey,
in
Tunisia, was it?
Tunisia.
Tunisia,
Sweden.
Lost to Belgium twice in the group,
Lost
having
to
a third
Belgium.
place player.
And Croatia, who we've got on Sunday.
Croatia not as good now though. Is the one who scored's retired, hasn't he? Is it Mandzukic?
Mandzukic,
yeah.
I think he still
And
plays.
Rakitic.
But I don't know if he's.
I don't think he's.
And,
I know they've still got Modric, haven't they?
So they're saying Modric looks miles off the pace.
I think he's got
Like,
a
he's
draw.
36.
Get a point
He's
there.
36.
Yeah, it's
Gotta
been
get a
around the
point.
block, isn't he? To be fair. Let's do an England prediction. We'll start with Bayliss.
Lose in the last 16 to Poland, 1-0.
Poland.
Can we even get Poland?
Can we? If we come second,
We
I think we
come
can, can't we? Yeah.
Dave.
Oh, mate, that's a mad shout.
What England prediction? I'm not going to predict the team like that. I'm not that clever. I think what is it? What, a group then last 16 is it?
Last 16, then quarters, yeah, then semis.
I think quarters. Yeah, I'll take that.
Harry?
My head, if I'm being sensible, is we're going to win the group, get France or Portugal in round of 16 and get knocked out. But my heart's saying we're going to dwindle it, fiddle with it, play a weak team in the third game, come second, and get to the final and lose to France.
I think we get France in the semi. I think we get France.
We get to the semi and lose to
We
France.
can. I think depending on their group, we can get them in the final. France. I think we can beat Portugal though. I think we're stronger than Portugal.
Portugal are a good team, though, aren't they? Really? Ronaldo, Jota,
very
Semedo.
defensive though as well. I mean,
Semedo.
Can you imagine if Semedo scores the winner in the
You're like to retire.
That would be so funny.
But
But imagine, flip that. Imagine on Sunday, the first game, Cody starts and he comes up back stick with a big header like 95th minute to get the winner or something. Imagine. Oh my life.
We still believe.
Hasn't Jack paid 80 quid for a Cody England shirt?
Yeah, but he's a virgin. So, winner prediction, Bayliss.
I've got a really rogue one. I think, and I've put money on it. So I've put money on my mouth is Italy are going to win the Euros.
Wow, that is a
Good
big
shout,
shout. That no one's talking about Italy. Dave.
I'll go safe with France. I think
France and Harry. Are you sticking with France?
Yeah, I've got to go. You've got to go France, haven't you? They're overwhelming favourites.
No one said it's coming home.
I think it's going to be England. I think England will win it.
Oh,
I really do. I do.
Yeah.
We still believe. Dark horse of the tournament, Harry.
So I was going to actually say Italy because no one's talking about it, like you say. But I'm going to actually go real rogue because I saw, right, I think it was like a poll on Twitter and it was like a supercomputer predicted who was going to win it. And obviously France were top with like 9.5%. England were 5.2%. And just above them on 5.4%, which baffled me because I didn't really know how good they were and how many good players they got, is Denmark. I reckon Denmark could be real shocks. Yeah, they've got some really good players. I had to look up who they've got. But they have got some decent players in midfield and that. So I think Denmark are going to shock a lot of people.
Bayliss, I suppose you could have Italy for both.
I could have Italy for both. But I'll be
Finland.
Weirdly, I drew Denmark in a sweepstake with some mates. So I could say Denmark.
They won it in 92.
Yeah, they got knocked out in the group stage in 96. See, I was listening during that documentary. Top goals. Oh, Dave.
You got to.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry, I missed you out there. Sorry.
I'll go Turkey. They got an alright squad.
Take this seriously, please. Yeah. Harry, top goal scorer, Golden Boot.
Right, it's coming home. It's going to be Harry Kane again. He's going to get a hat trick again where it comes off his ass and goes in and things like that and penalties. Harry Kane.
Doesn't matter how they go in, does it? Bayliss, top goal scorer.
God, jeez, that's hard. They've recalled Benzema, haven't they, to the French squad?
Yeah, 5 years he's been out of the squad.
That's a bit rogue.
That's mad.
So I'd love him to start the first one, a bag of like hat trick, and then they've got to play him. So
it's a bit awkward because he called Olivier Giroud a go-kart and himself a Ferrari, and they've got to play up front together now. So that's going to be
awkward. Dave.
What's his score? Sorry, top goal scorer.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Harry Kane. It's coming home. 2
Harry Kanes and a Benzema. Okay.
What
well,
about
if you want to join...
Mbappe. He's the favourite, by the way.
I think I'll go Kane. Will he play Griezmann? If you do want to join in with our fantasy league, then do feel free. Head over to socials. If you've got a pen in your hand right now, 18VYHTET06 is the code you need. Otherwise, we'll talk a little bit about the charity game that we had, and can't remember the score against Fancast. So, Dave, you're in goal.
Yeah.
What the fuck? To be fair, I've given you stick all the way through because it's just not true. You had an absolute blinder.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I thought we did well. We pinned them back. And they had literally 3 attacks, which probably makes me sound bad because they had 3 attacks and scored 3 goals. I'm still adamant the last one was offside. It's probably why the highlights
100%.
aren't out yet. And second half, I don't know what happened. I think I spent most of the second half shouting across to Matt Cooper saying, "Who's meant to be in this back 4 here?"
And he shout back saying, "I don't know."
We were chasing the game, so the fullbacks had every right to push forward. And then we had some raffle auction winner just sat at centre half on his own, just sat on the halfway line. So they were just going ping, ping, ping. And, I think, yeah.
Dave, I was
It a
knackered.
nightmare. Yeah.
I was so knackered. You get the ball up, you try and make a run from the back end, and then someone would lose it in the middle. Dazzling Dave would fall over himself. Be like, oh shit, better turn around now. Oh, so he's picking up at the net. Cheers, mate.
I think
good attack.
We looked good for about 15 minutes, didn't we? First half. And then, like you say, every attack they scored. And then I was so knackered second half. I went off. I think Dazzling Dave come on for me at left back. And it's one of them, innit, where everyone does want to go forward. And to be fair, if Jason Guy would have scored his penalty second half, would it have been 5-4 at that point?
Yeah, it would have. Yeah.
I don't think we'd have. I think we just give up after that, didn't we? No one was at the back. Like you say, we had one bloke at the back. And Dave had his work cut out every 2 minutes.
In all fairness, they didn't score every chance. Like, Fancast had 3 absolute one-on-ones that Dave saved. The one striker will remain nameless for Fancast that literally fell over his own boots.
Twice.
It's very funny. But I'm not going to sit you up to a nice blow.
What was it like, though, walking out onto that pitch? Because I think that's what we were all really going for, wasn't it? Is the feel of doing that. And Dave, you've done it before, but Harry, for you, what was it like? Yeah,
it's obviously we've run on the pitch a few times for pitch invasions, and when Kevin McDonald scored against
taking fake corners. So
it's always a weird feeling, isn't it? Because from the stands, you have such a different perspective when you're actually on the pitch. And I was saying to someone we were warming up, like I'm so used to playing on Sunday league pitches where the 18-yard box is literally about 2 meters away from the throwing line, but obviously on a pitch like that, a Premier League pitch, so wide, long. A bit like something else, but it's just it was just baffling. It's just baffling, isn't it? Just to be there and just imagining it full, like a full house and playing.
Yeah.
The buzz must be incredible because even though the Molyneux's the stands are quite far from the pitch, like it still feels really close, doesn't it? Like when you're in front of the North Bank and the South Bank and that. And I mean, it makes me think twice about slagging off players. Put it that way, because I was knackered and the fitness they've got and how quick they are and.
I still ache now.
Yeah, I
still ache now. Honestly, I can't walk properly. Still, it's been because I just don't play sport anymore. So it's just like my groin, both sides, fucked. Yeah. Ankles don't work; they're broken. Don't even know if they're going to fix themselves. Got to wait and see. I had peas on my ankle on the Monday just gone.
Really?
Monday's gone a week after. Yeah.
I'm surprised you had any legs left after that slide tackle, mate. I thought you broke your knee.
Perfect, most textbook slide tackle. People don't tackle like that anymore. Mostly because you will get a red card.
And of course, Bayless showed some mate who had to cross and put one on the top of the North Bank as he crossed.
You did, didn't you, Dan?
Thing is, 2 minutes later, I put a cross in that was really fucking good, and no one's spoken about that one.
No one. No, I don't remember that.
No one's mentioned that.
That's not Dad.
All I can tell you is that the only 2 fit people on our team were me and a man in his mid-60s that enjoys a samosa. So.
Manny's not in his 60s. I hope Manny's listening. Sorry, Manny. He's not in his early 40s.
He's in his 40s.
He's got a grey beard.
I can't age him.
I thought you were talking about Dazzling Dave, actually, 60s.
I'm sorry.
He played himself down before the game, Manny. He was really saying, I ain't played for years. He's one of our best players on the day.
No matter how old Manny is, and I apologise, Manny, he was bloody fit. Jesus.
Yeah.
He was fit for an 80-year-old, 100%. I think the donations are still open. It's £1,387 at the moment, and I'm guessing that won't include the charity auction. So there'll be a couple of hundred more £6 to go into that for Mind Charity. And if you did donate, of course, thank you very much for doing that, because it's a great cause. Has anybody got anything else to add before we have our summer break?
No, I just hope we come back and Bruno Lage as well, and I hope obviously England win the Euros and Cody scores the winner. That's about it. Really.
Not much of an ask. Excellent. Well, we'll say goodbye to Dan Bayliss.
Goodbye, Wolves fans.
Harry Mansell.
Goodbye, everybody.
And it's a goodbye and a thank you from Dave Azzopardi, Talking Wolves.
Yeah, thank you guys. Goodbye.
Cheers.